Welcome back yet again. We have another future of work conversation with SADA Systems. They are back-to-back Google Partner of the Year, the number one Google platform partner out there. Frank, who do we have joining us from SADA on this
Hey,
one?
we have Franz joining us. He's an evangelist with SADA. He's kind of one of the fresh faces and rock stars, emerging rock stars in that company. Kind of excited to have him on the call. Always great to chat with him.
Let's bring him on. Billy, come on up.
What's up, Acuerdo? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Kyle and Frank. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, Billy. Let's jump right into the first question, and we'll kick it off from there.
Perfect.
What is the most cringe-worthy phrase you've grown tired of?
Ooh, the most cringeworthy phrase that I've grown tired of. I think because we're having so many of these quick 30-minute video conference calls, the most cringeworthy thing for me is probably hearing, hey, let's take this offline, or let's tie off on that afterwards, because I've already taken 30 minutes to sit down in a meeting, and then now I have to have another 30 minutes for a minor conflict that we probably could just have and hash out via email or through collaboration with the new Google Workspace, formerly known as G Suite, right?
So Billy, you don't want to take this offline? Are you sure?
I appreciate that. I'll tell you what, now that Texas is slowly starting to reopen, we can meet up one day, Kyle.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, cool. Next question here. What is the most surprising story you've had or heard since the start of what we're calling the Great Reset?
Yeah, so for me, I think the conversation is actually getting to have conversations with customers on how technology is truly impacting not only the decisions today, but how it's going to impact them 5 years from now, whether it's through optimization or artificial intelligence. And my example of that is we just had a customer out in Colorado that had a call center, a very traditional global call center, even for that matter. And we at SADA have been able to provide the assistance through contact center AI on Google Cloud Platform with Dialogflow, Agent Assist, and these other features within contact center AI, and actually change the way that they're going to market and actually help them reduce costs. And then also assisting people in the healthcare space through a COVID-19 response. So that has been some of the, I guess, happier conversations that we've gotten to have in helping people not only with the results, but also the go-to-market strategy and the impact that it can make from a business standpoint.
I love that. Frank?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great story. I mean, I think that that's what we're seeing is people's ability to pivot, like where before they would look at maybe responding to a client request like you did there. And it's like, well, that's going to be a 3-month project or a 6-month project. Speak to the fact that in that great story, what you had to do maybe to change how you think, how you respond to a client problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was it, kind of right. Working with the CIO, the CTO, the problem that they had as far as addressing not only the marketplace, but shifting an entire workforce that was in an office to remote. And then how do we staff and get ROI in a global pandemic? Since probably I think this is the worst I don't want to say financial collapse fully, but we had a big change since 2008, right? So how do we respond to that? And then how can we at SADA help a customer achieve those goals through technology, so that way then they maximize the ROI and investment in their technology. So that was
100%, Billy. I mean, unlike you mentioned it, unlike a financial collapse where everyone's a loser, like the Great Depression, what we're seeing with the Great Reset and what we've noticed at Acuerdo here is that there's a clear divide between winners and losers. And it's really interesting. Chapter 7 bankruptcies are down, but Chapter 11 bankruptcies from debt protection are way up. So as you mentioned your story, what was the most surprising element of all of that, right? Was it the fact that they moved so fast, or what was the thing that was besides the obvious things, wow, that really caught me off guard that happened?
Yeah. So I think taking technology, right, and assisting in other countries besides the US, that from that standpoint, the global workforce, not only in the US, needed to work from home, but also in places like India, the Philippines, and a few in Europe, and then also giving these people the technology on the global scale to be effective in their go-to-market strategy and have an impact on their business needs. So that part was actually really, really cool to see in a time of unification around the globe. So I'd say that is really, really cool.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. All right, next question here. How is your company culture pre-COVID versus now?
Yeah, so at SADA, we have a very, very loud, kind of lively, fun, energetic, young, hip, trendy culture before COVID. And then now that COVID's happened, it's, if anything, it's the same, but 10x through computer screens. So like we do fun things, like our all hands every Friday with our CEO, and he invites a special guest, which is a leader in the company. We'll kind of sit down. We have a DJ that comes in and kind of makes it a little bit of a party for the first 5 to 10 minutes. And then we talk about the general status, the updates of what's happening around the company, whether it's sales, whether it's service delivery, whether it's expansion, new hires, and getting everyone introduced to each other. And then on top of that, the networking, right? We've increased kind of the chat back and forth. We've increased as much communication as possible while still being respectful. And then our HR team does a fantastic job of really making sure people are connected through these kind of like fun games and happy hours, even for that matter. And I say fun games because you could look at I think last week we just did a virtual Jeopardy, and I hopped on there for a brief stint, and it was like something absurd with like 75 or 100 attendees all playing Jeopardy. So that was kind of fun, just kind of reinventing the wheel, making things exciting and accessible. And then from my team standpoint, right, we're talking call blitzes that are all virtual, but adding extra spiffs, adding extra fun behind it with incentives that may not be financially motivated, right? I can't get too much into those things, but it's kind of fun in terms of the collaboration together.
Cool. That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like at SADA, like you kind of got a little loose, as in responding to this, which is kind of cool. Like you have to kind of keep it real and bring some levity to it. Do you feel that like in the process of this as well, in terms of like thinking about your customers, that this is like brought on like a new sense of empathy for customer experience in terms of like how they deal with you and like what you need to think about to make their predicament better?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple parts of that question, right? The empathy aspect, right from the beginning, we at SADA and the team that I lead have been talking about serve, don't sell, right? So come in with the empathy, understand where the customer's coming from, and then help understand where their problems reside and what can we at SADA do to help them reach their goals with our value add. So that's been the biggest thing. And then to your point about keeping things loose, make no mistake, right? Where year over year, I think there was just an article that Business Insider interviewed my SVP of sales, my boss, Joe Costco, and our CEO, Tony Saforian, with a 300% increase in revenue year over year in Q2, right? So that's during the time of a pandemic. So even though we were absolutely crushing our goals, we kind of, from my leadership and my team and my funnel, right, I do keep it a very loose kind of leadership style. And I feel that keeping things loose in a time when a lot of people are stressed out and everyone is kind of burned out from sitting in front of these screens, just doing meeting after meeting after meeting. I mean, I can tell you last Friday, I was through 6 hours straight of sitting in front of 30-minute meetings, talking to people about things that, well, I mean, needed to happen and for business planning. So I try and keep it loose, keep it fun, give the reps autonomy, give my channel managers full autonomy to do what they need to do to execute. And I think in return, that's partly what's driving our results. And also making sure our customers feel comfortable talking with us and engaging with us and having success for their technology needs and then their capacities. So it's been fun. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And no doubt SADA has been doing exceptionally well. I mean, Google doesn't just hand out Partner of the Year awards back to back, right? But that screen fatigue is so real, isn't it? Like, you mentioned 6 hours of like back to back video calls, and like, in these worlds we're jumping from like from Zoom to Microsoft Teams, back to Google Hangouts, back over here. If someone sends me another like meet.me thing, like weird off the box me, I'm like, I'm not going to go. I'm just not going to go. Like, so many different new meeting platforms out there. Like how has the employee morale shifted, or how is that, with the fact of, we're not commuting as much. Frank did the math on that earlier. Like it was X amount of hours saved per month, like 44 hours in a month, like an entire week is back by not commuting, right, Frank?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, if you do like a 2-hour round trip, right? That's in 22 working days a month. That's 44 hours per month. So it's like a 140-hour week, but it actually takes up like 3 months worth of work. So like if you were able to like get some, give back on that capacity, not doing that, like the improvement in your quality of life is just insanely good.
Yeah, very much so. I can certainly relate to that, right? I don't even live. My office is downtown Austin, and I live when there's no traffic, like less than 10 minutes. I'm just south of the river here in Austin, and it's insane. I mean, you guys know you're here too. The traffic here is, I mean, probably comparable to that of LA. I think is what news reports say.
I think it's worse. It's worse. I think we have there are 6-mile commutes in Austin that are a 45-minute drive.
Yeah, I mean, I almost have a better chance hopping on a Lime scooter to get in my office than I do, right, than taking the truck down there. So it's absurd. I'm excited to get that time back, but of course, with that time though, I got to be cognizant as a sales leader and understanding that the pressure that the reps are facing, and also the necessity to take time for mental health, whether it be walks, whether it be exercise, right? And then also too, keeping a pulse. I equate it almost to like a full season of baseball, right? 162 games over across 180 days. A manager looks at his reps or his players out on the field and wants to manage the workload, right? Make sure that they actually get their proper at bats to be successful, but at the same time, you don't want to have your best players get fatigued. So trying to encourage proper times when to take breaks, when to take vacation time, when to disconnect completely and fully, right? So all that, and just being a sound and stable leader with consistent measures.
Well, love the baseball analogy there, Billy. That's great. Next question here. What is your vision for the actual future of how we work?
Yeah, so as far as the vision of how we work in the future, I think mobility and work-life integration, right? I think the kind of fancy word about 3 to 4 or 5 years ago, it was work-life balance and work-life collaboration. But now I believe that's integration, right? We're seeing it across the nation and even across the globe, right? With kids staying at home, people working from their house, with their kids doing their own online schools. Mobility from the standpoint that whatever we need on our laptop or desktop, we need to have accessible on our mobile devices so we can truly work from anywhere as long as we have an internet connection or cellular service. So I think that's the future. And then as far as going to an office or something like that, I think we're seeing the major shifts. I just saw two major companies announcing that they're going to split 50-50 time in the office for their employees or at home. And then other companies that are letting employees be full-time remote, right? We just talked to a customer here at SADA a couple of weeks ago that will be 100% remote going forward. So that's kind of interesting. I'm excited. So I guess to sum that up, I'd say the mobility aspect, being able to work anywhere and everywhere, and then the work-life integration that now we're going to start seeing people hop online, maybe for 2 or 3 hours, knock out some work, knock out some emails, take care of what they got to do. And then maybe for the quick hour, they jump over, teach their kids something with their school or education practice, or they go knock out a personal task or personal errand during the workday and then hop back online. So very, very intriguing. I'm excited for it. I actually think it's awesome, right? And that's not just me firing off there, right? Because as a millennial, right, I think we get a bad rap in terms of the general workforce population, but I think this is really, really cool. This is something that I had been striving for and wanting for a long time.
No, absolutely, 100%, Billy. I mean, now and never. I mean, like never before. Like, hey, guess what, guys? It's actually okay to take the dog for a walk at 2 p.m. Right? Like, you're not a slacker. You're not a bad employee by doing something like that, right? Like,
Right.
guess what? We're supposed to take breaks. You're not supposed to sit there and have your eyes glued to a screen for 6 hours straight. And when you do it, when you're forced into it, like you feel it. Like you really feel like, man, that was rough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, Billy, because like you brought up a couple of points which I want to like shine some light on, because you really talked about that work-life balance, and yeah, maybe you can look at that from a generational perspective, but I think that a lot of things that might have been generational before, like some of these paradigms and some of these walls are just getting blown up, and as well they should. Like they should just go away, because they're universal like life things. And so like one of the things that Kyle and I have as part of like our Recovery X framework that we use for Acuerdo is we have these various different strategies. And like you just like, boom, drop in on one of those, which is like redefining work. Like in the midst of all this technology, right? Like we've got to find a way to redefine how we work and how we measure people's success. And part of that, like to the second point that you brought up is, decoupling people from property. Like those two things used to be like, I have an office. How many people can I put in that office? Everything like fit nice in a spreadsheet. Now even the spreadsheet, it just goes away because those parameters don't exist anymore. And even what we do when we go into that office, different. Like, why do you go to the office? Different. What are you going to do when you're at the office? Different. Like we have an opportunity for reimagination on a huge scale.
Very, very. I couldn't agree more. And like to your point, right, with the work-life balance, like I want to call out, right, it is a work-life integration, right? Like the days are gone. We're going to be working. I can only imagine the amount of productivity that America will see in the long term because of this. Yeah. But also the simplicity and harmony, right? Connecting with your neighbors and your coworkers on a scale that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. Maybe pre-COVID, it was like this. You're on a video conference call and you go like, why is she down at the beach? And then post-COVID, it's like, why am I not down at the beach?
Yeah, exactly.
You sound like you're speaking from experience there, Frank.
I don't know. I'm just something came up,
Yeah, no, I love that. We're definitely removing physical restraints, right? That's for sure. And you mentioned like some companies, some notable companies in the news making headlines, right? 50% working at home, 50% returning to work, or like a 50% shift on like when they go to work, right? So you're going to see a lot of that. Like, what about for SADA personally? Like, how is that changed for you guys? Like, what are your not so secret plans that you're able to share with us?
Yeah, the not so secret plans. So most of you all know we're HQ in LA. I was brought on to kind of build out the Austin office, and then we have another 9 or 10 sites all across the US and Canada. So our plan for right now is through July 2021, we're allowing our employees to work from home full-time, 100%, as long as they feel safe and comfortable. We make exceptions for employees that need extra resources or maybe need to truly go into the office due to different personal constraints, whatever they have, right? So our HR team has been very, very acceptable, very accommodating. So with that said, I think, I can't say too much about what I think Tony and Joe have had discussions on, but I can say it's certainly, I don't know that it will ever be everybody back to the office at 100% capacity. Right.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is there is no, like, you're not back to some new normal thing, right? Like that.
No,
right? Paradigm is gone, right?
I feel that way personally, right? And I mean, I live on a plane, right? So I'm hopping from one flight to the next, some different region, different conference, what have you. So I certainly think for me and my reps and my alignment, I don't see a necessity for it even. And I would even say, furthermore, given the pandemic standpoint, the team is absolutely crushing their goals, getting to work from home. So if they're happy and they're loving life and they're exceeding their goals, why would I change that? Right? Like let's keep employees happy. Happy employees create happy customers. Happy customers create a positive influence on SADA and the ecosystem. And we help everyone get their goals. So it's a win-win-win all the way around.
Well said. Well said. All right, Billy, final question here. What role do you play in this vision for the future of work?
Yeah, so SADA's vision in the future of work, right? Where do we fit? I think we will still continue to be a leader in Google's ecosystem for the foreseeable future. And then in that impact with our customers, it's helping lead that digital transformation and migration to the cloud and understanding the technology and how the infrastructure stack can impact a business, not just from the traditional DevOps or IT stack, but also across every gamut in every vertical in a customer's hierarchy and organizational structure, right? We're talking sales, marketing, HR components. Everybody's getting looked at all across the board in how we go to market, and we can change that. And we will gladly be here, and we will be here to help companies shift to a full digital native strategy.
Awesome. So in that, like, this is really like where SADA shines, right? Like, this is really like the 90-second commercial on SADA. Like, for people that don't really know, I mean, we mentioned you guys being the Google Partner of the Year, but like really, what is the core essence of like what SADA is doing?
Yeah, so the core essence of SADA, right, is really helping provide solutions for the customer base that are centered all around Google Cloud Platform. Not just Google Cloud Platform, but a little more broadly Google Cloud. And under that umbrella is GCP, Workspace, which is the new announcement, which is formerly known as G Suite, Google Maps, Google Cloud Search, and then the workloads underneath all of those, right? So it's and I talked about that a little bit before, like contact center AI, right? Now we're looking at from a virtual workspace standpoint too, with virtual desktop interface. So that's a big key component too. These are just some of the few outlines, and then how can a customer maximize and get their best pricing and analysis on technology and maximize what they are doing in their go-to-market strategy. So maybe they can get out of the data center or getting out of on-premise and helping alleviate their staff so that they don't have to just run into a building and see, oh, great, the lights are still blinking, we're still up and running. Let's offload that to the cloud and let's let SADA take care of that. So that's really that's a kind of a nice way of me kind of packaging this whole bow up into one component, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I can just speak personally. Like, I love the energy from SADA. The people there are a great teamwork, collaboration people. And I know for Kyle and I, as we're working to orchestrate, solutions to some of the most complex problems for clients, having an in-network partner that takes that, same side of the table seat with us to solve problems couldn't be more valuable. I also love the fact that, like, you bring a support side to this, which is kind of like next level. I mean, Google, kind of like Microsoft, like, they have support elements. They're not the type of support element that would be like openly desirable by most people trying to solve problems in real time. And that's what you guys really do, is you bring that layer to it that makes it like very accessible. And so, like, I applaud all the things that your company has been doing. It's great working with you.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate that. And actually, you guys will be the first. I don't even know if I'm allowed to release this yet, but I might get in trouble here from my team. But
bring it.
Here we go. We actually just announced a 15-minute SLA for all priority one issues on Google Cloud Platform, as long as you're on SADA paper. So that's a huge announcement. 15-minute SLA.
Wow. That is huge. What is the what's the standard if you're just like some company randomly like, hey, we're stumbled into Google Cloud and we're doing this on our own and we don't know what we got ourselves into?
So the industry standard for SLA, especially for tech issues, is usually about 24 hours. Priority one at a previous company that I worked for, it was actually roughly an hour to 2 hours. So that kind of gives you an idea. And now we at SADA are pushing the envelope on that.
So, like, I mean, I don't want that to get undervalued here, because like that's a huge testament to the fact that you guys are really customer first. Right?
Yeah,
you guys have listened to your customers. You guys have like scoured the research of like all the case studies you guys have had internally, and you guys came to this, like, this is what we're going to come out with, is a 15-minute SLA. Like, to make that decision, it's a huge leap, right? But it's a leap towards, like, this is what the customers actually want and need.
Yeah. And not to say, hey, we can do this in 12 hours. Or we can do this in 6 hours, but like, that's leaning in pretty hard to go to 15 minutes. And you heard that here first, right?
Yeah, very much so. You did that. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble on that or not. So,
yeah, we'll quickly glaze. No one's going to see this. So no one's going to watch.
We won't tell anybody.
Perfect.
Quickly glaze over that. So, like, what is the risk, right, of a company just going to Google on their own? Like what are they in for?
Well, I think Google technology, right? Google's a fantastic Google Cloud Platform, really cool product features and updates that exist. And this isn't in a big company like Google, right? And a lot of enterprise, I'm sure you guys have dealt with it I mean, you guys in the channel partner community at Acuerdo are fantastic, right? I see the customers you guys bring in and the value that you provide. So second to none, right? It's awesome. But from that standpoint, the benefit of utilizing SADA versus going direct is not only is pricing going to be the same, but you actually get an added layer of support. So that's a huge value add, right? I just talked about that for the 15-minute SLA, but we won't bring that up again, right?
Well, you already did, so
I did, right? So there's that component. And then our technical expertise, right? So our CTO actually built out the solution architect practice and the knowledge base at Google Cloud. And as you can imagine, the technical expertise and the people that we bring on board and the investments that we're making on these people is fantastic. It's huge. And then on top of that, Google, right? I don't know about you all, but when was the last time you worked with a massive, massive company? Sometimes your point of contact can change based upon the issue that you're working with. Well, at SADA, you get that business continuity and you get to maintain and build a relationship with one person. If you look at our staff and especially in our technology field, some of these guys, our director of cloud adoption has been at SADA for 10 years. He started our GCP practice with SADA. So that gives you an idea of the culture, the people here, and our go-to-market strategy.
Excellent. Frank?
No, I mean, I can just attest to like the engineering talent. That's like super important. Like when we're trying to break it down up front with a client, figuring out like what is next. I mean, sometimes, when people come to you with an issue, it's not like you go through a listing of checkboxes and start to pull together a solution. You really got to surface information and you've got to dig in. And you've really got to, try to kind of frame this up as to like what the possibilities are and the options. And I feel that like working with your engineering teams that we get to that point much sooner, and they're very eager to join in, and it's a very powerful experience. Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Billy, we appreciate you being on the show with us today, and thank you for joining us at Back to the Future of Work and the Future of Work Pavilion. Final thoughts, final parting words for us.
Final parting words. Okay. Oh man, this is a big send off. No pressure.
This is the mic drop moment. Here we go.
No, for your customer base, Acuerdo, love you guys. Kyle, Frank, thanks for having me. It was awesome being here. These are, if I could do 20 of these a week, I would do that any day of the week, right? I love this, love the time getting to spend with you boys. From your customer base, anything that's related to Google Cloud, whether it's GCP, Workspace, formerly known as G Suite, Google Maps, Google Cloud Search, we're the top shop in Google's ecosystem. We're here to help you. We want to see you be successful. Let's connect, route your deals through Acuerdo, and let's make technology happen and work together in harmony. So thanks.
Awesome. You even got a definition of Acuerdo in there. I love it. Great. Thanks, Billy. Thanks so much for being on the show with us, and thanks for your support for Back to the Future of Work.
Thanks, y'all.
Frank, there's another one, man. Billy's a great dude. SADA is, again, the #1 Google Cloud Partner of the Year back-to-back. If you are dealing with Google at all, G Suite, Workspace, or Google Cloud, they're the top shop, as Billy said. You heard it here.
Yeah, it's true. You couldn't be in a better place.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, continue to poke around the event. Go out there and network with people at the event. Jump back into the Future of Work Pavilion for the updated schedule. And we're getting close. We're getting close. The end is somewhere in sight today. So hang with us. Continue to connect, and more valuable content coming your way right next.